Good morning, everyone. Today is another Tuesday, and I figured I would go live again. I got to keep on going every week. Today is going to be about saying I will be. So it is in relation to 2 weeks ago with day one with the I am, and it's actually both of them, the epiphany came from when I was reading a book by Wayne Dyer, who wrote a book, he wrote a lot of books, but the book that I'm referencing is Wishes Fulfilled. And so it's a lot about mindset and changing your thinking and positive thinking. And who do we have on? Say hi. Good morning. And so, as I was saying, what today's mindset change is going to be about is using the words I will be. And I'm going to read directly from the book. So during the I am, you say you want to say positive things about yourself. And just a refresher on the I am, for those of you who haven't seen day one, it's that I am is seen as God's name. And so I am are very powerful words, right? Because you're talking about yourself. And so I am, you should choose positive statements. You don't want to use those to say negative things about yourself, especially when you're getting frustrated, because I know that when I get frustrated or disappointed in something that I didn't do or couldn't do, I immediately want to say something negative. I mean, it's kind of like our programmed mindset, but we got to change that to say I'll do better, or I am going to do better next time. So he talks about, always living from your subjective feelings, which means yourself, like what your thoughts are versus the objective. And he discusses that as being the outside opinions, and that don't allow the outside opinions to affect what your opinion about yourself is, which is subjective to you, but also it's the only thing that matters. Because if you're not doing things for yourself, then who are you doing them for? Which reminds me of something I got asked when I applied for the PhD program, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And so he talks about the I will be, and to really not use I will be. And he relates it back to God, and how no one ever says, God will be. It's either God is or God was, or there's no will be, because will be means that it's not at the current time. And so taking the I will be out of your vocabulary, insinuating that that you're currently not. Now, you might be thinking like, well, what does that mean? Because you might be like, well, I'm not whatever it is that I'm thinking, or whatever it is that I want to be. But this is where I will give you guys an example of myself and how I didn't realize that I was doing this in my own self-fulfillment, my own self, like what I wanted to do. So I'll just go with the example before I just get stuck with all my words. And so when I was applying for my PhD program, which I applied spring 2014 for it, and we had, first, I wanted to get my PhD since I was like, I don't know, in 4th or 5th grade, and I don't know where the idea came from, but I knew that I wanted to get my PhD because I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't want to go to medical school because I had the idea that it was too difficult for me to do. But looking back now, it's like, well, I probably could have done it, but for whatever reason, I didn't think I could, so I didn't. And so I knew I always wanted to get my PhD. I finished my master's degree in 2012 in counseling, and I told myself that in a year I would begin to apply to programs, and I looked around to different programs that I wanted to do, And I made the decision on where I wanted to apply based on a degree that was something that would help me grow. So I have a master's in counseling and guidance, and part of the reason why I didn't go into like a counseling psychology degree was because I didn't feel that I could do more. Like, I was already going to get my license, my LPC, with the state of Texas, so I didn't feel that getting a counseling psychology degree or a counseling education degree would give me more than what I could do in regards to a PhD. And so I happened upon this program at Texas State that kind of wrapped up everything that I loved, which was adult, professional, and community education. And so I fell in love with the curriculum and everything that the program stood for, and I felt like that really fit me. And so I saw it, I was like, oh, this is for me. And I really only applied, that's the only PhD program that I applied to. Most people apply to several different schools, but I was just adamant that this was the program for me. I didn't even think about like what would happen if I didn't get in. And so this is going back to, you know, the I am, like I already had that mindset. There was no like will be, like, so thank you for joining me. Whoever just joined, say hi. I'm going over a different mindset and wording on how not to use I will be, because I will be is kind of saying I am currently not. And so I'm just kind of discussing how I didn't realize that I used that with my getting my PhD. And so back to the objective subjective. So objective opinion is outside, opinions outside of you that are trying to put their thoughts on what you should be, what you should do. And then subjective is yours, right? Because it's your opinions are completely subjective to you, and they're the ones that matter. They're the ones that are important to you. And so I had my interview scheduled. So I applied in, I don't know, February, January, and then I had the interview scheduled like a month later. Super excited. And I was just very like, oh, okay, you know, it's like nothing. It's not going to be anything. And then there was like 40 people there, and they tell us that there's going to only accept, I think it was like 10 out of like the 40. And so they talked more about the programs. We got to know the professors. We got to know the other students that were there applying as well. And then we each had an interview. And there was like, I think it was like three people interviewing us, like 2 professors, and then maybe like a grad assistant or something. I don't really remember. I just remember one of the questions that really stuck with me and reminded me of why I was doing the PhD program. So they asked me, what if anything would, and I'm sure they asked everyone, what if anything would stop me from completing the program? And of course, immediately in my own mind was like, nothing would stop me from nothing would stop me from doing the PhD program. And of course, like, I had to like stop and think about this, like, because I mean, if someone told me that like nothing would stop me, I'd be like, well, what makes you think that nothing would stop you? And so, you know, I let them know, like, well, nothing would stop me. You know, life would happen regardless of whether I complete the program or not, and that I was doing the PhD program for me, and I would do anything that I needed to do to make sure that I completed the program. And then I added that what I also do is have a lot of self-care. I take care of myself and make sure that I'm taking time for me, especially when time when something is stressful. And so I didn't realize it then, but they told me that, and they were really surprised with my answer. They didn't ever hear anyone ever say that. The self-care part, which I thought was just kind of amazing to hear, but at the same time, coming from a behavioral health background, self-care is always pressed upon with our clients, but maybe not necessarily with ourselves. So something else, right? So self-care. is really, really important. But all that to tell you guys, like, when you have an idea in your head, you never really say I will be, you say I am, right? And so since I was very, very young, I had always said I am going to get my PhD, I am going to get my PhD. There was never a I will be. And so it's important that when anything that you want to do, you want to take anything that is putting it as a maybe out of your language. So if you want to make a lot of money, say I am going to make a lot of money, I am going to make a lot of money, instead of one day I will make, taking out that I will be. It could also be something like, I am going to get married within the next 2 years. I know that might sound crazy to some people to say, but it can happen pretty fast. I met my husband January 2013, and then I knew I wanted to get married within like a couple of months, and for him, he felt he needed more time to think about it, and so we got married about like 2 years after. But I knew that I wanted to have children within that time frame, and it all happened, right? I was like, I was 29 when we met, and I was ready. And so I didn't realize that at the time I was using all the I ams. I am ready to have kids, I am ready to get married. And it wasn't like I will be married, or that was kind of like leaving it floating in the air. And so again, this is just a reminder from like 2 weeks ago on how the things you say really, really affect who you are and who you become. And so take all of that, write down those statements of the things that you want to be, and then make sure that your language revolves around that, and try to take out the I will be, or I think I am, or anything that makes it not permanent, not is, so anything that, so, and it just takes time, it takes time. That, because when I was reading it, I'm like, well, no, what's wrong with saying I will be, because I say I will be late, but sometimes actually then I'm not late, right? Because it just happens that I'm not late. But it just shows that I will be is very temporary, very not permanent, I guess. It doesn't really establish anything. It kind of reminds me of like when my parents when I used to ask my parents for something, and they would say, we'll see, right? And so we'll see, you knew was like, maybe it could happen, there's hope, versus like no, right? When they told you like, no, you can't do that, or no, we can't do that. So while I will be is hopeful for certain things, like especially like for future stuff, but in regards to who you want to be and who you want in in your life or career or whatever it is that you are hoping, for, you need to change your language to the I ams. Take a day or two to write in a little tiny journal. I have this little tiny journal. I got this from Walgreens. They have them, they're super cute. They're like the size of my hand. And so it's, you just gotta take little notes and stuff to carry it with you. I know you might be thinking that your phone is convenient, but there's something about taking, a pen and writing things down, and it kind of like, impresses better on your mind, like the changes you want to make. So thank you everyone for watching and tuning in. Leave me comments, anything below, anything that you've used the I ams for, or that you just knew in your own life that you were going to do and you did it. And maybe some challenges in using some of the language of like I will be versus I am. Y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in.